Hey, it's Becky. Today we're turning one of the most cursed objects of contemporary e-waste, a disposable vape, into a musical instrument. It's like an ocarina, using your breath to activate and your fingers to control the pitch. This project comes from my friends Shuang Kai, David Rios, and Carrie Love. We gave a talk together at the Open Hardware Summit about reusing disposable vapes, and they've been conducting workshops around New York, teaching people how to build these. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that the existence of these things enrages me. They are designed to be thrown in the trash, and yet each one contains a rechargeable lithium battery, a charging circuit, a sensor, LEDs, and a surprisingly decent case. I made a video about how to harvest the batteries. This project will reuse more than just the battery. Just make sure the thing is still operational before you go to all the trouble of taking it apart. The battery will naturally lose charge over time, and if it was already low when it was left to sit for a long time, the battery might dip below a recoverable level of charge, and then it's ruined. So I've made sure my target device at least lights up when I plug it in, indicating the battery's charging. In addition to the existing parts we'll get from the disposable vape, we'll need a few photoresistors for the finger keys, a speaker for emitting the sound, a 555 timer for generating the sound, and various components to support and connect these parts together. You can find the full bill of materials at the link in the description, and pick up the additional components for this project at DigiKey, this video's sponsor. DigiKey carries everything you need to make this project, from the components to build the circuit to the tools required to open and modify the enclosure. If you follow DigiKey on YouTube, you'd know that's where you'll find my introductory electronics teaching video series, perfect for learning the skills you need to make a project like this. Check it out at the card in the corner and the link in the description. And big thanks to DigiKey for their continued support of my channel.
The smoothest method for opening this type of disposable vape is to put it in a vise and pop the end caps, then use pliers to gently pull out the internals. Inside we find the battery, the charging board, the pressure sensor, and the juice cartridge with embedded heating coil. The heating element and cartridge get discarded, and everything else becomes instrument parts. I feel like I tell you a lot about lithium battery safety, but it bears repeating. They can be a fire hazard if they get shorted out or punctured. I store mine inside a vented steel ammo box and then put that inside a fireproof bag. This tip comes from the teardown episode of my DigiKey series. Additionally, this step should be performed in a well-ventilated space and while wearing gloves. Vape juice can be absorbed through your skin as well as your lungs. Wash the empty vape case with dish soap once it's apart. Once the stinky tank is contained and the case is clean, you can remove your gloves. At the heart of this circuit is a 555 timer oscillator. The team was inspired by a classic Forest MIMS circuit. The pitch is controlled by a resistor ladder made of photoresistors, a capacitor network, and the breath sensor, which acts as a gate. Light changes the resistance, which changes the frequency of the sound. It's best to build a solderless breadboard prototype of your circuit first, before trying to make it tiny and cram it inside the case. I visited the Vape Synth workshop at my hackerspace NYC Resistor, where the group walked through this prototyping step together. Success meant a sound was produced when the sensor was sucked upon. Alligator clips helped connect the components with smaller wires like the speaker and the battery. Some attendees used buttons instead of photoresistors. Photoresistors produce a highly variable range of sounds, and Carrie told me that some people prefer single notes, more like a true ocarina, not some ocarina-like theremin. It depends on your musical taste. The circuit's resistor ladder allows for this flexibility. You could use photoresistors or potentiometers for a fluid range of notes, or buttons and resistors to tune to specific notes, or even a combo of both. To power the breadboard with the vape circuitry, connect the black battery ground wire to the breadboard's ground and the sensor output wire to the breadboard's power. In these ELF bars, it's usually blue. It's the other wire you cut off of the heating coil. The sensor reacts to low air pressure. Inside the original device, everything is gasketed up to create an airtight seal. Well, we're about to make a bunch of holes in the enclosure, so we'll move the sensor to the mouthpiece instead of its original location at the bottom. You can include the sensor's original gasket and take advantage of the little pass-through channel if you want to, or just stick the sensor in there by itself and intentionally leave a space unglued for air to pass. When done correctly, the power LED will light up when you suck on the mouthpiece. I found that using the sensor alone resulted in a device that takes less effort to activate, not even a full breath, more like sucking on a drinking straw, where the original gasket with the air channel requires moving a lot of air to get going. Dealer's choice. You can always add more glue to further restrict the airflow. While our attention is on the original circuitry, it's a good time to extend the charging board wires, since now that the sensor is in the mouthpiece, the wires are too short for the charging board to reach the bottom, where it neatly clips into place. So I desoldered the 3 wires on the charging board and added some stranded wire to extend them. I insulated the solder connections with Kapton tape. After wiring up the solderless breadboard circuit and connecting it to the vape circuit's power output, you should hear a tone. If you only get popping, your capacitors might be swapped with each other, or try shining a flashlight or other bright light source on your sensors. The ambient light is one of the ingredients impacting the final sound of the instrument. My friends know by now I work with these, so I have a whole bin of devices I've diverted from landfill. You can ask your neighbors in your local Buy Nothing group for theirs, or ask your local vape shop if they have a stash or if you can set up a collection box. Once you have a working solderless breadboard circuit, you can get ready to build it into the case. We'll need to make a few holes in the metal body of the case. I 3D printed these jigs from the tutorial that make it easier to position the case for drilling, or CNC milling if you're fancy. Shout out to Shuang, David, and Carrie for publishing all these files for this project. Their instructable for this project is chef's kiss. Before drilling, I use a center punch to dent the surface where each hole will be. This helps the drill bit bite in the right place, rather than dance around. It's a general metalworking tip. The angled jig is for the finger key holes, and the flat jig is for the center speaker hole. I used my tiny drill press and a step drill to create the holes. Afterwards, there are these sharp burrs left inside the case, so I'll use a deburring tool to remove them. Next, it's time to install the photoresistors. I splayed the leads flat and used Kapton tape to hold them in place. Soldering inside the case can be tight, so I like to use my third hand tool to hold the case at just the right angle to see inside. After the photoresistors are all soldered in series, with stranded wires added to each end, we can trim the extra leads and hot glue the sensors in place. Then it's time to install the speaker. The hole doesn't have to be big enough for the whole speaker to fit inside, and you can drill a separate hole for the wires if you want. I used a piece of tape to hold the speaker in place while the glue sets up. You can use a can of compressed air to quickly cool hot glue, and the more you angle the can, the colder the air becomes because more of the propellant is released. The final version of the 555 circuit takes shape on a small piece of perf board. Check the full tutorial for the circuit diagram. Then I took the loose wires from the vape power circuit, resistor ladder, and speaker and soldered them to the board too. Before closing the case, test the circuit one last time. Once everything passes the functionality test, you can close it up inside the case. This is one of the most fiddly parts of this project, fitting the battery and the board inside the enclosure, which already has the sensors and speaker installed. Take your time and use tools to reach where your fingers can't. Snap the end caps back on, and now you have a finished vape synth.
What I love about this project is that it doesn't pretend reuse has to be invisible. It's not trying to disguise the object. Instead, it's calling attention to the fact that this thing existed and could have caused harm, but now it makes joyful music. I think that's powerful. This is the simple novelty synth version of the project, but the team is also developing a MIDI controller version, so look out for that when it comes out. If you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and catch up on my projects by joining my email newsletter. See you next time! This video was made with support from my sponsors and donations from viewers like you through Patreon and YouTube memberships.